Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Hello, and thank you for joining this live webinar presented by the Cisco Learning Network. This webinar will be recorded and made available on the Cisco Learning Network, and information on how to access the recording will be emailed to you following the live session. Please allow up to 5 business days for the full recording to be made available. Thank you very much and enjoy the presentation.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello to everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Carlo Bobilas and I'll be your moderator for this session. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Lifecycle Experience and Network Experience Solutions Architect, Casey Hamilton. But before I hand over the mic, I do have a few housekeeping items to cover about today's presentation. Today's session will be recorded and made available on demand after the live session. We'll make sure to provide you with some details at the end. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you are on WebEx and have a question for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the WebEx question and answer panel, where our wonderful panelists are ready to respond. And for those tuning into our live stream, thank you very much for joining in as well. Q&A is limited to those via WebEx. However, we will have a post-event Q&A thread over on the Cisco Learning Network community where you can post any follow-up questions you may have. So without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming Casey. Casey, over to you.
Thank you, Carlo. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get this kicked off. One second here. All right. So yes, today we're going to be covering Catalyst Center reporting and how to configure it. So first off, I want to cover with you how to generate reports and then understand the delivery and notification options. So you'll find there's various different options for actually receiving these reports and scheduling various frequencies, file format. We'll go over all that. Then we also have, we're going to go over the view the state of your network and users using Catalyst Center reports. That's going to be comprised of our demo, where we'll get a live demonstration on how they work. Before we dive into it, I want to go ahead and start off our first poll. Carlo, I'll hand it off to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Casey. So for this poll, you'll see on the right-hand or left-hand side a Slido window pop up within WebEx. We encourage you to go ahead and participate. We ask, what version of Catalyst Center are you currently running? Your choices are 2.3.5 or 2.3.4 or 2.3.3 or below 2.3.3. Again, your feedback is important, so we do encourage you to take the time to participate. Back to you.
Thank you, Carlo. So for today's discussion, again, we're going to go over our overview first, and then we're going to understand reports in the GUI, and then we'll go over generating a report. All those three will be done within the slide deck, and then I'll jump over to the demo, where we'll generate a couple of reports as well. So a reports overview. Catalyst Center is a clear and concise way to communicate information. So you may have various use cases as listed here: capacity planning, trend analysis, operations reporting. And then if you look over to the right, we have different reports that we can generate based off of each use case. So if I'm looking at capacity planning, I can look into executive summary reports or port capacity so that I can plan for maybe expansion or scaling out my physical ports. Trend analysis, I can look into client trend reports and top end summaries. Operations reporting, I can look into all the inventory data and the swim data that it provides. If I wanted to look into network and client health, I can generate reports on security advisories or new threats. We'll specifically look into a new threat report here in a bit, which I think you'll find very useful when it comes to navigating your security landscape. You'll be able to be notified based on a certain potential threat level, and then set up webhooks or email notifications in between to get a full report based off of the frequency desired, be it 24 hours or a week. And then we have our return on investment report. This is a very interesting report because it's a little bit different. You'll see in the demo, we will go over it. It's not necessarily within the report section, but it's within a different tab, and it shows based off of different actions that you've done in within Catalyst Center. This is your return on investment. You're getting it. So it's doing some number crunching and equating it to a dollar value. So Catalyst Center reports. Currently, There's over 80 reports as of 237 release across 17 categories. So here's the full list of reports. We have AI endpoint analytics, access points, client, compliance, configuration archive, EOX, executive summary, group communication summary, group pair communication analytics, inventory, licensing, long-term, network devices, rogue and AWIPs, swim, security advisories, and telemetry. So within all of these various categories, you can find various reports related to the categories. We'll explore the catalog here in a bit. So the various types of reporting formats that you can get from a report are PDF, CSV, JSON, or TDE. Now, there are some reports that don't support, say, for instance, JSON or CSV, but may just support PDF. And then there might be other reports that support all of it. But the key point is for you to understand the data format that you choose to use to help with your visual interpretation of the report itself. And a lot of times you'll have the flexible option of choosing between one or the other. So I'll go ahead and hand it back over to Carlo with poll number 2.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Casey. So going back to our first poll, actually, where we asked what version of Catalyst Center are you currently running? We have the results. About 50% of you selected 2.3.5 is what you were currently running, and the other half was running version 2.3.3. All right, so now we'll go ahead and activate the second poll. For this, we asked, are you currently using reporting with Catalyst Center? So simple yes or no question. Back to you, Casey.
Thank you, Carlo. All right. So we're going to go into understanding reports UI now. Now that we have kind of like a basic understanding of what the reports are and what options we have, we can now look into the UI a little bit. As you can see, there's 3 tabs. The first tab is generated reports, which will, once you go to a report template, which is the tab that's highlighted here at the little, take this right here. So this is where we can actually generate reports. These right here are the categories that I went over earlier. And let's say I clicked client, I might get a bunch of reports related to client. And I might get, say, for instance, a client health summary report that I can select. Over here, you can see PDF, CSV, right? For this one, we can see that these data formats are supported. And if I wanted to actually go in and generate a report, I'd click right here, and it would take me through a workflow to generate the report. And then once the workflow is complete, the generated report will show up here. And depending on whether you generated the report for instantly, or if you wanted to schedule it for a period of time, that report will be available for download. And if you selected any like notification options, such as email, it would send it to a various email server or a webhook as well. Usage insights, this is where the ROI reports is. We'll look a little bit more into that as well. You can see the generated reports tab. This is a little snapshot of it. This one we can see is reoccurring. It's happening on Monday at 9:12. This is a one time, and you can see when it was last ran, the format type. Over here, we have our actions column. This will let you delete the reports. It'll let you view the config of the reports, which would be nice if you wanted to kind of like look into the details specifically of what were set up. And then you can also, a little trick here is you can click here and then you can click duplicate reports. And that'll save you a lot of time if you wanted to create a port that was somewhat similar, but say you wanted to change the destination or the format, or maybe both, maybe even the reoccurring time that the reports ran. So those are some options for you as you go through after you generate a report. You can still edit it on the fly. And then we have our usage insights. So this is related to the ROI report. We'll go a bit more into this within the demo itself. And we'll cover this as well. USD, so we have our cost inputs. This is where you can enter in your average annual cost per IT staff member, IT inputs, number of IT staff members, and average annual work hours worked. So it'll take this input, crunch it within DMAC, and give you results based on it. Next, we have generating a report. So this is the workflow for generating a report. Under a report, you'll go to report templates and then select the report and then click generate. Advance past the preview screen and confirm the template. Adjust settings on the setup report screen if desired. Then you'll select the file type, be it PDF, CSV, and then you'll set the time range and schedule for now, later, or reoccurring. You also set the delivery and notification type. And finally, you'll go and review and or adjust the report settings on the summary screen and click next. After that, your report will be generated. It is quite quick to generate, I've noticed. It doesn't take too long. So it'll be ready for download very shortly after you click to generate the report. And for setting up the report scope screen, this is where this is going to be very dependent on the type of report you run. So one thing you'll notice here is that we're setting up a report and for the inventory. So it needs a location because it's going to check for either global or all devices within a specific site or location. It also may need a device family, device type, or software version if you wanted to like look at various like inventory reports. But as you'll see when we go through the demo, there might be different scopes for various reports. So for let's say the client summary report that we're going to do, you may want to track clients based on a specific SSID, the client health of a client. Say there's like complaints about an SSID not working well, having maybe some interference issues, some connectivity issues. You can start generating weekly, daily reports on a specific SSID and kind of filter, get some trends on what's going on. So here we have our file type, schedule, and delivery notification. We already went over the file types, the scheduling. This is just a little recap. But what we didn't go over is delivery and notification. Delivery and notification, we have our email report. It's either as a link or as an attachment. So you select one or the other. And then we have our webhook notification where it can send it out to a server. And then for our email notifications, prerequisites are that you have system settings and then integration settings to enter a callback URL. Callback URL is something that if you have an application that's external to Catalyst Center, what it'll do is the callback, let's say there's a firewall, which is most likely in between. Most likely that client, in order to communicate with Catalyst Center, it needs to hit an external or public IP in order to hit Catalyst Center's private IP. And to do that, it'll need a callback URL. The callback URL is going to be the public IP that would be mapped to Catalyst Center's private IP address. And this is so that notifications can be reached when it's sent to the client can then call back and confirm an acknowledgement over to Catalyst Center. And also another prerequisite is that you go to system settings destinations to add the SMTP server so that Catalyst Center can send the notification to the destination or application that needs it. And then we have our web notifications. So prerequisites, again, get a callback URL going because there might most likely be a firewall in between the data center and the application or clients themselves. Next, you'll need to set up destinations under system settings destinations. It's the same section as email, but there's a webhook tab, and we'll see that here in a bit. This would be an example of a successful webhook notification. And with that, I'm going to jump into the demo. So pull up my screen here. 1 second. Okay, so this is DNA Center. We are currently running 2.3.5, which it sounds like most of you are on, so that is great. And we'll go ahead and go to, oh, one thing I want to show you first before I dive into the reports section right here. So I'm going to go to System Settings and show you first off the integration settings, is you'll probably need to set up that callback URL if you want to enable external notifications. So here's where you'd enter and map in the callback URL. And then also we have our destinations section. And this is where we can set up our webhooks and our emails. So for webhooks, you just click add, and then you define the name of the webhook itself, the URL for the webhook. Does it use a certificate? And does the server need a post or a put to do it? Is there an auth? Does it use basic auth? Does it use a token? And then I could click add and add other header names as well. For those of you who may have worked with APIs or Postman, very similar to that. It's basically just sending an API call to a post or put API call to their server so that it can place that notification within and generate the report, give the report to the application. Next thing is email, which instead of using HTTPS like webhooks, we're using SMTP to send the data. And here we really what we need is the primary SMTP server. You'll put that here with the port, and then you can add a from and to, and then subject line that's gonna give so like you could give it something like Catalyst Center, let's say reports, and give it a domain, and then send it to and set up a bunch of distro emails where the people who may want to, be notified of various reports, they can receive the email. And you also have the ability to test it out here. Once you enter in the information, it'll go ahead and test it out, and you can confirm connectivity and that the clients have actually received the email. So that's the prerequisites before actually going to reports, but it's only needed if you want to schedule a report for external notifications. Now, locally, you don't need to do any of that. Locally, we could just go to reports and create a report template. So first one I want to do is, again, here are the categories. If I go to client and then client session, we can see we have CSV, PDE, and JSON formats available. I'm actually going to go to client summary. We have a PDF right here, click generate, and then it's going to ask you, it's going to let you know to go through a report. It's going to take you through a workflow. So we click, let's do it. And if I scroll down, first off, it gives you an option to change reports on the fly. If you pick the wrong one, you can definitely change it, or there's a good way to actually view various reports and see if you like the format of it. But what it's going to do right here is it's going to give you a blank summary of what that report's going to look like. So you can see I'm going to have a client count over time, client count by band, top 10 locations by client count, and then a client summary report. And it's going to go down, health score over time. We can see how our network's performing. It's really good for, like, again, that Wi-Fi example I used earlier. It's really good for tracking these kinds of issues. So if I click next, we'll have, we can select our various locations. Give it a second. Oh, 1 second. Okay, and click next. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was stuck on loading. I just need to refresh it. So, yeah, so we can select sites by global. We could even go into United States. Let's say we had like a specific SSID at United States. And we wanted to check under the floors, buildings, and let's say we went to just, maybe users were just reporting an SSID issue on one floor. We could just check one floor, or we could, if maybe it's the whole building, we could do it for all. It's a good troubleshooting, but it's also good to just get reports on day-to-day activity. That way, if you notice any trends or issues, you can work with them that way. Here we can select our SSIDs that are available. We can select our various bands, be it if we want to check our 2.4 band, we can do that. And then group by, we can group the report by building, area, or floor. So I'll pick floor and then click next. And this brings us to our schedule report. We have a time range where we can check the last 3 hours, 24 hours, or last 7 days. Or we can click custom. What custom will do, it's going to allow you to go back in time 90 days. So we can go from December. That's strange. Yeah, it is 90 days. It's strange. It's not letting me do that now. Oh yeah, for this report, yeah, it depends on the report. So you might have custom, or you might have, under custom, you might have like 14 days, but it depends on the report. This one looks to be 14 days. But you'll see in the report we run next, which is a threat report, it'll have 90 days available there for you. And then we can schedule to run it now, or we can schedule to run it at a later time. So later time, we could schedule it maybe for 31st, see how clients are running then, and then, second, click next. And this is going to bring us to our delivery and notification page. This is what I walked through at the very beginning, prerequisites. As you notice, integration settings were not configured, either as email report or web notification. So I'm going to go ahead and default here to none. But this would take you, if you were to click here, it's going to ask you if you want to exit the workflow. I'm not going to, but click here, and then it'll take you to the system settings to go ahead and configure it. And then go ahead and click next, and it's going to give you a summary. You can see our file type, time range, the schedule, delivery notifications, and we can also go back and edit these if we need to. And I'll go ahead and click next. And it's generating the report. So we have a few all reports, click here. And this one shows not initiated. The reason why is I scheduled it for a later time. The next one I do, we'll actually see it in real time. But if I needed to, I can look at the actions column and click view config. And this is just going to give me a little snapshot summary of what this report is. And then if I needed to edit it, I could come over here and click edit. So I'll go back. Another thing is the duplicate report. If I wanted to keep this report, but make another report very similar, and then, just edit that one to maybe do something a little bit different. Maybe I wanted to change it to a frequency of run now. And then I last 3 hours, and then click generate a report. Now that one will go ahead and generate on the fly. So we'll give that a little bit of time. And then you also have the option to run the report immediately if you need to, or you can click delete to remove any kind of reports. And you can see it's currently running. We'll give that a little bit of time. While that runs, let's go over back to templates, and I'm going to generate a different report this time. This time, let's focus on a little bit on security. So rogue and AWIPs, and this is a really good report to check any kind of threats. We have additional rogue detection and threat detail that we report so we can generate. But for now, we have our rogue AWEPs that I want to cover, which this is really good for detecting new threats. Of course, in Catalyst Center, you have other security features such as security advisories that will check for vulnerabilities and stuff like that, which is great to use. And we do have content on that. If you are interested, definitely get in touch with your account manager. But for this specific purposes, this is really good at keeping track of your security landscape within your enterprise network. And you can look at, this is kind of like a demonstration of what this report will look like. The threat level, the MAC address of the client, say it was a potential threat, it'll tell you the MAC address, the threat type, what SSID is this on, give you a lot of key indicators on, who might be involved. Is it a false alarm? Is there anything I can do to this SSID to make the security stronger? And then I go ahead and click next. And from here, we have our report name. I didn't call this out earlier, but you can change the report name and make it unique to you. And then click your global. So this time I'll just click global for threat report because I want to look at the entire organization. The threat level, let's go with, I want to look at high threat level for sure. Potential informational might be good. I'm going to leave that out for now. I just want to focus on high and potential. And then here we can look at our threat type. So what threat types are we actually looking for? We can add fuzz beacon. We could add, interferer. We could add all these if we needed to and what we're looking for. Next, we have our data format here. So instead of just, you'll notice PDF isn't here anymore. That's what we did for our other report. But now we have CSV, Tableau data extract, and JSON we can select. I'll keep it at CSV. And we also have our fields. In that sample report we saw at the very beginning of this workflow, you notice some columns there. The threat level and MAC address, threat type, those were the titles of each column. And you can choose to remove these, any items that you choose, or you can keep them all. So I'll go ahead and click next and take all the defaults. And then I'm going to schedule for the last 3 hours. I'm going to also schedule this to run now. And again, we have our delivery notification, which you could set up. We have our summary. And then I'll click next. Reports. I have 3 reports here. Go ahead and refresh up. This one looks to be, yeah, this one is complete. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this report. This is our client report. I'm gonna let the threat report go ahead and generate. It's not complete yet. Let's take a look at the client report. May take a little bit. Yeah, I think it's still actually loading. We'll give that a little bit. While those load, let's go over to our usage insights. So this is the ROI report that I mentioned earlier. We have our various metrics we can do. We can change this by up to a year. Like how much return on investment are we getting in within 1 year? We can look at our time saved and our cost saved. The key thing that's required for Catalyst Center to crunch this data and perform analytics on ROI is to enter data here, customize cost insights. So we may change this based on what currency we're using. And then we'd enter in our average annual cost per IT staff member, the IT inputs, so number of IT staff members and average annual hours worked. What Catalyst Center will do with that information is it's going to take into account, how many workers, how many hours worked, and it's going to be able to calculate, all right, so based off of what Catalyst Center is doing, this is the amount of time that you're saving, and this is the cost that's saved, your expenditure. And then you're able to get some ROI insights into like KPIs, time saved. And then you can look at trend analysis as well. Currently, we don't have a graph going due to there's not many clients on this network, but or network devices, but you can look at time savings trend and then cost savings trend as well. And it'll go ahead and show you a graph trending up or down in various ways over a given period of time, in which case this would be a year. And you can also export this data as well to a PDF or CSV. Let's go back to generated reports. Okay, so this one looks to be ready. If you wanted to download, you could click download here. I'm gonna go ahead and click here just to show you. This is what it'll look like. Again, this section or this lab I'm using doesn't have many clients connected. Therefore, it's not going to show you much here, but I do have some sample reports so I want to go over with you that will show you a finished report, a bit more data. Here we have our new threat report as well. So I'm going to go here and look at threat level. We have our MAC address. So you can see there's not much data to get from this because, well, there's not many clients connected. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some actual reports and show you what this will look like. So let's say I wanted to get a security advisories report. So security advisories, what it's going to do is it's going to check for various vulnerabilities. And here we can see our device names. So we have like, and it's running a current software version, and it's telling you what version it's currently at and what's the fixed version. It's also telling you the impact of various vulnerabilities. That way you have a very good view of the threat vulnerability and threat landscape on your network. So you can go through here and see, you know, which devices, which IPs, maybe they need to be patched or upgraded to get a better CVSS score, and remove the vulnerability there. Another one is the swim report for all data. Pull that up. Oh, that one's not working. 1 second. And here's an example that the ROI data is not really complete for this one, but this is an example of what the ROI would look like if there was data in here. So we would have it based off a feature. You know, it breaks it down by, you know, are they using Swim to automate software image management, image upgrades? Are they using PMP to automate device configuration with template editor? So it'll break it down by feature. It's going to break it down by time saved, cost saved with the numbers that you crunched, and you know, use usage APIs, traditional NMS, average time, and then average time taken in minutes for Catalyst Center as well. So with that, that concludes our demo. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint deck and review a few more key topics, but before I do that, I'll hand it back over to you, Carlo, for poll 3.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And going back to the actual second poll, the results were in. Are you currently using reporting with Catalyst Center? About 8% selected yes, and then the majority, 92% selected no. So thank you very much for that. All right, let me go ahead and close voting, deactivate that poll, and then we'll open up the next poll. All right, the last poll actually is how likely are you to begin using reporting with Cisco, with Catalyst Center? Very likely, somewhat likely, or not likely. Again, your feedback is important, so we do encourage you to take the time to participate. Back to you, Casey.
Thank you, Carlo. So there's some key points to remember when it comes to reports. First, you can schedule your reports to be generated automatically. Oh, there's one other key point I do want to call out as well that's not listed here. It's very important, but necessary to call out. Let me bring back up my demo as well. Reports, go back over here. Sorry for the flow here, but these reports, they will be deleted after 7 days. So that's why it's important to either once they're created to download them. They will be deleted within 7 days to save space on Catalyst Center. It does that by default. So make sure to either download them. And this is the real benefit of sending external reports like email and stuff, is because it's sent to an external location, therefore it's being saved, where Catalyst Center is job is to generate a report, but then conserve space, and it will delete the reports. Another thing is if it finds that it does a number 7 rule as well for a specific report that's generated. Let's say we have a reoccurring report for one report specifically, and it's ran 7 times. The 8th time it is ran, the first report that was ran will be deleted, like the oldest report will be deleted so that it can cycle through it. So it's based off of time, but it's also based off of how many times the report are ran in order to conserve space within Catalyst Center. So again, key takeaway is definitely download the reports once you have them, or set up an external notification system such as webhooks or email on the reports. All right. So with that, let me go back. Okay, so key points to remember. You can schedule reports to be generated automatically. Report formats include PDF, CSV, JSON, and TDE. Only the last 7 reports of a given type are saved, and any report older than 7 days is deleted. That just clarified that. So you can download reports if you wish to retain them. You can schedule reoccurring reports to be consistently up to date on your network, and you can automatically send reports to a desired email or webhook address. And that concludes our session. Carlo, I'll go ahead and hand it off to you for the remainder of the session.
Thank you, Casey. So at this time, we'll go ahead and take some time for questions. Just a reminder to please be sure to type your questions into the question and answer panel within WebEx. All right, so give me one sec. Okay. Casey, I'm going to go ahead and just take the ball back if that's okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. So put this screen here. So first question I have here, Casey, is concerning Catalyst Center users and roles. At which level access are users able to actually generate reports?
So access level users and roles means RBAC, role-based access control. Currently, there's 3 different roles, and they're all default roles: super admin, network admin, and observer. Only the super admin role can generate reports currently.
Thank you. Okay, next question I have here is how many report templates does Catalyst Center provide?
So currently, Catalyst Center provides over 80 report templates across 17 categories. They're listed alphabetically under the report templates and report workflow. Historically, Catalyst Center has added reports as new features are added to Catalyst Center and new releases come out for Catalyst Center to make it more flexible based on the different reports you want to run. So you can expect that as Catalyst Center releases more versions, more reports and categories will come out as well.
Thank you very much. Okay, next question I have here is, are you able to create custom reports?
Not from scratch, but you can adjust the settings of an existing report template. So, for example, you could customize the AP radio reports to limit the report to a specific selected location, such as a building or an area or a floor itself.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And then let me see if there's any other questions. There is one. And this one, if any of the panelists would like to chime in, they can do so as well by unmuting their microphone. Is there a report that shows EOL and contract status for SmartNet?
For SmartNet, I don't believe so. I can look into that. EOL and contract status for SmartNet. Let me see here. 1 second. Yeah, I'm not seeing it, but EOL and contract status. I can look into that. And what I'll do is we have a post webinar discussion page, and I'll give you an answer there within the post-webinar discussion as well. Carlo will paste that in chat and we'll confirm that for you.
I appreciate that. I was just going to mention that. So yes, we do have a place where you can continue the conversation, as well as if you are chiming in via the live stream, you can also jump onto the post-webinar discussion thread, which will be pasted into the description on that live stream to encourage you to ask questions there and just continue the conversation. All right. I don't see any other questions. Casey, I think you've covered all the questions. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up?
Thank you, Carlo. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's been a pleasure going over Catalyst Center reports with you guys, and thank you to all the panelists. And we have more webinars happening each month, so be sure to sign up for those as Catalyst Center evolves and more features are added. Everyone, enjoy your holidays, and y'all have a good day.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Casey, and thank you to the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community. Again, if you have a question, please do visit the post-webinar discussion thread. Link is in the chat, as well as in the description on the live stream. For even more tutorials and demonstrations, as well as future webinars, as Casey mentioned, please do visit the Cisco Learning Network. All right. Well, until then, have a good day.